Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Saturday, January 25th. Ian Cameron and Ryan Robinson right now with you. Alex B. Smith will be along soon as well. We are here for a huge Saturday NHL card, as usual on a Saturday, chock full of action, chock full of games, 13, a baker's dozen of NHL on tap here for this Saturday. Looking forward to talking about it. We'll talk about Saturday's games. We'll talk recap of last night, but this show deserves to have the headline, the first thing we talk about be the absolute blockbuster trade that we obviously all saw last night in the NHL. And I don't think a lot of us saw it coming. And the more I thought about it after the fact, I'm like, yeah, it makes sense why we would see a trade involving this particular player. But I think at the onset of it happening, we thought, in this case, the Colorado Avalanche were going to move mountains to try to re-sign him because of just how great he's been, the chemistry with Nathan MacKinnon over the years. But dollars and cents matter, and the dollars that Mikko Rantanen and his camp were demanding from Colorado did not add up. And as a result, here we are on a Saturday talking about Mikko Rantanen being traded from the Colorado Avalanche to the Carolina Hurricanes in a huge deal last night in exchange for Marty Necas and Jack Drury from the Carolina Hurricanes going the other way. And this is, from a Colorado standpoint, you hate to lose a guy like Mikko Rantanen, of course. The chemistry on the top line with him and Rantanen was off the charts. It's undeniable his impact on this team. And it's undeniable his impact on this team when they won the Stanley Cup a few years ago. He was terrific. And he's gotten better and better. And he's now clearly established himself, Rantanen, as one of the better goal scorers in the NHL, and just quite simply one of the better players in the NHL, without question. And and I'm sure the Avalanche are saying, boy, sucks we have to lose him, but it's a business. It's a tough business. It can often be a very cruel business. And when you look at the bottom line here, when you have a guy like Mikko Rantanen demanding $14 million from the Colorado Avalanche on an annual salary per year, which is more than what Nathan MacKinnon's making at 12.5 per, and a situation where you're going to have to pay the big bucks pretty soon for Cale Makar when you've got to get his new contract negotiated. In a salary cap sport, there's only so many mouths to feed. There's only so many people you can keep. And at the end of the day, he's a unrestricted free agent, Mikko Rantanen, at the end of the season. And I think, reading the tea leaves, Colorado did. They said, you know what? There's just no fucking chance we're going to be able to re-sign this guy. And we don't want to let him walk for nothing. We want to try to get something in return if we're going to lose this player, Mikko Rantanen, because of how great he's been. And that's voila. That's why we saw this trade last night, to at least get something in return for Mikko Rantanen. And, they got a pretty decent haul in return. Now, I will say this. Is Colorado weaker without Rantanen? Even though they bring back Marty Necas, who had an incredible October, early November. He has cooled off since then. Still a very good player. And Jack Drury gives them a little more forward depth, especially in the center spot. But are they going to miss Rantanen? Absolutely. Almost an irreplaceable player on that Avalanche team. Not just because of the production, but just how terrific it was with him and Nate all these years on the blue line or on the up front, I should say, on the top line for the Colorado Avalanche. So, like I said, it's definitely a short-term pain for the Colorado Avalanche. But if you think this is the one and only trade Colorado's making, you need your head examined. They're not done. I cannot believe for a second that they are done. And the one thing about trading Rantanen that frees up some cap space now for this team to make some moves here moving forward toward the trade deadline to try to add and make this team better. As for Carolina, Eric Tulsky, man, put his balls on the table and said, you know what? We need an impact offensive force. There's been too many times in the playoffs, if you're the Hurricanes, you've looked at it and you've said, well, you know what? We just didn't have enough offense. We didn't have enough, proven production in the playoffs. Mikko Rantanen's a proven playoff performer. And, Aho has had decent playoff. I wouldn't say he's been great in the playoffs, Aho, but he's been decent. But there's so many other players for this Carolina team. Svechnikov comes to mind. Other players up front that have needed to step up their game in the playoffs, and they haven't done it offensively for this team. So I think when you look at this situation here for Carolina, Rantanen fills a big time need, because the one thing they had an issue with in the past was those big goals in the playoffs, and someone that could be a bona fide, elevate your game in the playoffs, score those big goals, make a big impact offensively. And certainly Rantanen can do that. Carolina's a better team up front and much better offensively just by adding Mikko Rantanen here. Here's the problem, though. There's still some issues on the back end. They're weaker on the blue line this year as far as defending goes without Brett Pesce and others who they lost. And you can't be overly thrilled and just overly confident right now about the goaltending with Carolina. Freddie Anderson's looked bad in 2 games since returning from injury. We like Kochetkov, but we've never seen him in the pressure cooker of a long Stanley Cup playoff run before. We think he's got the talent, but is he going to be ready for that? And behind Kochetkov, and let's say Anderson struggles and or gets hurt again, which wouldn't shock me for the millionth time, you don't have much behind those 2 guys. So goaltending is a big-time question mark still for Carolina. There's still things they've got to address. Eric Tulsky, the GM, is going to have to, try to address at least at the trade deadline. But are they a better team with Rantanen? Yes. And they're especially a better team offensively. As for Colorado, look, hurts to lose Rantanen. At least you get 2, good commodities and assets back, especially a very good player in Marty Necas and a depth forward in Jack Drury. You at least get something in return for losing Mikko Rantanen, or deciding that, hey, we're not going to be able to re-sign him in the offseason. But there's no doubt, Colorado's a bit of a weaker team up front, and Carolina's a better team up front with Mikko Rantanen. But again, I think there are still greater issues on the Carolina side that they have to address, specifically D and goaltending. And as for Colorado, they're not done yet. I'd be stunned if this is the only move they make. Ryan, did you have any thoughts on the big trade going down last night?
Yeah, it was interesting. I saw something that said he shut down a trade to Carolina last week, and then they told him, well, it's either Chicago or Carolina, and that's what kind of ultimately got him to waive his no trade clause. But it was shocking. It was interesting to see. I think I personally think Carolina won the trade. I know that Rantanen is a free agent and was asking for a lot of money, but he's a proven, had multiple 100+ point seasons. He's a stud, superstar. And Necas is obviously having a great year as well. He's on pace for his first over a point a game season, but it's just crazy that the Colorado wanted to give someone up like that that's been there for so long and been a proven player and won a cup like that. So it was a really interesting shakeup for me. I personally like it as a Stars fan. I think Colorado got worse, but yeah, it was anytime you see big name players, superstars move like that, it definitely shakes everything up, and it'll be really interesting to see how he does in Carolina with the other talent they have there.
No doubt. It'll be interesting. And by the way, we're not going to have to wait long to see the new pieces on the Colorado side of this trade, because Jack Drury and Marty Necas are not only already there with the team, they're in the lineup for their matinee affair this afternoon in Boston against the Bruins. So that'll be fun to watch, and we will obviously get to that game to start our Saturday card analysis in just a bit. But first, we'll look back on Friday night. Again, a small card it was last night, but it ended up being quite profitable. It was a solid result overall, more wins than losses, at least for me here with the Friday slate. One of the losses, though, was the Flyers-Islanders over, which fell short after the 3-1. It was 2-1 Islanders after the first. It ended up being 3-1 in favor of the New York Islanders in that game. Put the clamps down really on the Philadelphia Flyers. Philadelphia just woeful, continue to be on the back-to-back. I think now 1-8 now on back-to-backs for the Philadelphia Flyers. They lose that game 3-1 last night. And look, Anthony Duclair, I didn't bet him last night, even though I mentioned him. I said if he scores, and he did last night, he's a streaky goal scorer, and maybe that's the start of a little bit of a hot streak for him. Usually when he scores one to get out of a drought, he goes on a little bit of a run. So we'll see if that happens for the Duke, Anthony Duclair, with that goal he scored last night. Vegas and Dallas, which was the ESPN affair, was a great hockey game. Obviously, it usually is with those two teams. It was 1-1 after the first. They exchanged power play goals. Dallas took control in the second with a 3-goal second period. They ended up taking a 3-1 or 4-1 lead, I should say, going into the third period, 4-2 lead, I should say, going into the third period. Jason Robertson, man, he has got it rolling right now. Remember those early season struggles? They're now a thing of the past. He had another terrific game last night for the Dallas Stars, including a 2-goal performance, a couple of assists from Wyatt Johnston as well. A great push from Vegas in the third period. No doubt Jack Eichel got him within 1 and made it 4-3. And Vegas, they really took it to Dallas in the final minute or two as they pressed to tie that game. And just a couple of phenomenal saves from Jake Ottinger, and the one with the glove that he made, which was just left John Buchagras with his voice all stretched out there on that save by Jake Ottinger on the broadcast. But it was just an incredible stop. And he made one right at the buzzer too, or right when the clock expired at the end of the third. And Dallas hangs on, and I mean hangs on, to get the 4-3 win against Vegas there last night, which I was happy about because I did take a small bet with the Stars there on the money line. I figured a good spot pouncing on Vegas, who had to play back-to-back after being in St. Louis the night before. Winnipeg with a nice 5-2 win against the Utah Hockey Club. They get redemption for losing in Utah. Pretty solid game from them overall. Bounce back performance from Connor Hellebuck and from the team after losing in Winnipeg. A hat trick for Cole Perfetti. Hell of a night for him. Nikolai Ehlers had a 3-point night as well. His return to the lineup, which was good to see. And I mentioned yesterday how critical he is, and he just showed you that, how important he is to Winnipeg. And I actually got in on, I mentioned, if you like Winnipeg last night, why lay the big money line price when the majority of their wins have been when they've held teams to 2 goals or less? I actually jumped in on a Utah team total under 2.5 before puck drop, and I actually put it on the Patreon page yesterday when I posted that card. And that's always the advantage of being a Patreon member, is you get to, there's always going to be, not always, but there's going to be some instances where, we add a bet or two later in the day based on info. And that was a late ad for me, that Utah team total under, but glad I added it. I believe now it's 6 straight wins for the Winnipeg Jets, where they've, in each of their last 6 wins, they've held the opponent to 2 goals or less. So that's a way to approach it. If you like Winnipeg in a game and like them to win, just bet the team total under 2.5 on the other team. And certainly doing that with Utah last night paid off there. So nice win for Winnipeg. Tampa Bay, Chicago. It was a weird game. This one, what wasn't weird, it was perfectly normal, was the first period over cashing once again with the Chicago Blackhawks. Best bet for me. We were all on it in some fashion. Now 14-1. First period over in the last 15 Chicago games, 2-1 Blackhawks after the first period. Even though Tampa Bay dominated territorially the first period, but Arvid Soderblom was very good again last night, especially in that opening period. But Chicago ends up capitalizing with a couple of goals against Johansson, including the first ever NHL goal, or not first ever NHL. It was first ever NHL goal for Colton Dock, but the bargain bin for Alex B. Smith plus 500. Frank Nazar, he ends up making it a 2-1 Chicago lead. Crevier in the third period extends the lead to 3-1. But then Chicago commits the cardinal sin. And I said this in our group chat. To give up that goal with 8 seconds left in the second, 3-2, all the momentum to Tampa Bay going into the intermission. And I said, this is going to be Carolina versus Chicago from last week all over again, where Chicago's playing a good enough game, but, they let Carolina hang around in that game, and Carolina tied it in the third and won it in overtime. And I said, watch the same thing happen here now that Tampa got that late second period goal. So I jumped in on the draw and Tampa Bay live and ended up hitting both of them as they tied it late with a power play goal in the final minute. I do feel bad for Soderblom. He was really good again last night, and just 40 more seconds, and he gets his team a victory on off a great performance. But just couldn't keep that lightning power play, that vaunted power play off the board. They tie it late. And then, of course, Kucherov on another power play chance that Tampa Bay gets. He ends it in overtime, and they come back to win 4-3. It really was a carbon copy of Hurricanes versus Blackhawks last week. Amazing, the similarities in those two games. Alex with us now. Alex, your thoughts on last night? And because we talked about it earlier, me and Ryan, your thoughts on the big blockbuster trade last night with Carolina and Colorado?
Yeah, I'll be real brief with the trade. Everybody was going nuts as it was breaking, of course, like I said, nobody saw this trade really coming. In the sense of, okay, we knew Mikko Rantanen more than likely was going to be dealt if he couldn't get a deal done with Colorado, but didn't really necessarily see him going to Carolina. And you look at, obviously this is an upgrade offensively for the Canes, but at the same time, and I heard you mention it too, the defense is still an issue. You still need to get a backup goaltender because you need Kochetkov rested and ready for a playoff run. He can carry them to the playoffs. I watched this guy when he was with the Wolves in 2022 take that Calder Cup run. He out-dueled Dustin Wolf, who was absolutely electric. That was the run that really got me to notice Dustin Wolf as a quality goaltender. But that was Kochetkov that ended up winning that series and ended up winning a championship for the Chicago Wolves. So he's a guy who I definitely would be able to rock with. I think that team could rock with in a 7-game series. But they got to get a backup goalie because you don't want to burn him out from now until April. And so that's the thing. There's a lot of other pieces that Carolina needs to grab right now. And same thing with Colorado. Like I said, they're not done wheeling and dealing just yet. And obviously, with the Hawks being involved, taking part of Rantanen's salary, getting Taylor Hall out of town, which is great because Taylor Hall did absolutely nothing this season in a Hawks uniform. Maybe he boosts Carolina in some sort of way. Maybe he's just a veteran presence in the locker room. But to get him out of there, one, it frees up a roster spot for these young guys, which I'll talk about with the Hawks in a little bit. But two, more than likely that means the Hawks might be involved with Colorado at some point too. That's kind of a maybe handshake of let's work on something later on. Maybe it's something in the offseason. Because like I said, there's a lot of cap and a lot of big contracts that Colorado has. And if Colorado doesn't win a cup this year, or let's say they're bouncing the first round, there's going to be some moves they're going to be making, and they're going to have to kind of shake some things up to have a competitive squad next year. So I think that's the reason why Chicago was involved in that 3-way trade. And obviously having the space to take all that money. As far as the games go last night,
teams just use them as the proverbial bank. Yep.
But I think it's a little deeper than just the money. I think there's an agreement there. And we see this happen whenever there's 3-way deals. When you see a team, why is that team involved? That team really didn't get anything. What were they doing in that? That's usually something that leads to something down the road. As far as the games last night with the Hawks, like I said, great call by you, Ian. Like I said, this what we always see when the Hawks have a 3-2 lead or 3-1 lead after 40 minutes, they can't hold on to it. Like I said, it wasn't Arvid Soderblom's fault. That defense, as they're young, they're making mistakes on the fly, and like I said, they were just getting
up the offensive ante and the pressure and the forecheck. They're not handling it well. Chicago, it's that simple. And Tampa did that in the third; they couldn't handle it.
And most teams can't handle Tampa's pressure when Tampa's down a goal or tied late in the game like that. So like I said, not on Soderblom, and it's funny. I was kind of talking with some friends yesterday after the whole trade with Carolina and Colorado and Chicago, and I said Soderblom should be one of the guys we look to trade, not of the sense of getting rid of him because he's a mess. Now it's to the point of there's high value in him, and I think that there's some teams that could actually use him as a backup goalie. How good could this guy be right now with this momentum if he has a quality defense in front of him? And like I said, you're not asking him to start in a playoff game if you're a team, but to give you 10, 15 starts down the line to give a starter. If I'm Winnipeg, if I'm any team, teams that have goalies that they're riding hard and wet right now, that they need to give some rest, I would be maybe calling the Hawks and saying, hey, we'll throw you a first or second round pick for Soderblom because he could be a valuable asset for a team, not necessarily just like I said, to have as if in case a goalie goes down, but just to have the spell a guy now to be ready for a playoff run down the road.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Look, his stock's improved. Let's not kid ourselves. Yeah. Arvid Soderblom. There's no doubt. Drastically. This is now multiple. This is a handful of really terrific outings he's had now in net for the Blackhawks. So it's been good to see.
We're seeing the difference between last year where he was costing that bad team games to now it's a bad team in front of him that's costing him wins.
Yeah.
So
basically the script's flipped a little bit here.
Yeah.
Right now, as far as that's concerned. So, but again, he did everything he could last night, no doubt. I know, Ryan, you were excited about another Dallas victory last night against Vegas. And so your thoughts on last night?
Yeah, I didn't watch I didn't watch a ton of other games. I was at wonderful Mullet Arena, but I did catch most of that Vegas-Dallas game. I was watching on my phone the last couple minutes when Ottinger made the huge, I think it was 2 or 3 monster saves, including the glove grab. But I hate Vegas, so it was obviously great to see as a Stars fan. But other than that, I didn't have any sides or totals or bets last night. I was pretty busy and out of the house. So just that Dallas-Vegas game, especially it being a national broadcast, I tuned into that. But other than that, I was mostly looking ahead to the games today.
And with that in mind, perfect segue. Looking ahead to the games today as we look ahead to a huge Saturday card, 13 games on tap, a trio of afternoon games. And we will begin with Colorado and Boston. Man, has this game gotten more tantalizing in the last 12 to 18 hours. We've got Colorado minus 150 road favorites. The total here sitting at 6, shaded to the under, although DraftKings, one of my favorites now, hanging those 5.5. It's like they're dangling a carrot at me saying, Ian, come get it, come get it. We got 5.5 here with the total in this game. So I was not expecting to do much. Other than I know Alex likes the draw here, but I lean that way too. There was not much I was going to do with the side or the total in this game at the onset. But then I started looking at Colorado versus Boston and what we've seen historically. We've actually seen 3 straight games go over the total, full game. We've seen all of those games also go over in the first period. And if you go back even further than that to the last 3 games in Boston between these teams, 2 of the 3 have gone over in the first period as well. And the other 2 games, we saw 5-1 and 5-1 scores land on 6. They were pushes. But like I said, DraftKings is hanging a 5.5 here in this hockey game. So I think this is goals now. We saw Boston ticked off with the performance against New Jersey. What did they do? They dug in defensively, played a great team game defensively against an Ottawa team that, look, let's be honest, Ottawa's not Colorado offensively. And, Ottawa was coming off a shutout loss to the New York Rangers, and Boston was able to shut them down in that game and end up winning 2-0. Even with the loss of Rantanen, Marty Necas, Jack Drury are playing. They will make their Avalanche debut here this afternoon. And obviously, there's still weaponry and firepower that they've got to contend with. It'll be a tougher team to defend than obviously Ottawa was. But on the flip side, you look at the Bruins and what they've been able to do offensively lately. I know it was a kind of a tighter checking style of game against Ottawa, but, we've seen the Bruins, score prior to the last 2 games where it was a tight checking game against Ottawa. They ran into a New Jersey team that was pissed off, Sheldon Keefe calling them out, and they just got shut down by the Devils. Prior to that, this team had put up 4 goals in 4 consecutive games, 4 or more, that is, Boston. So we'll see if they kind of get back to that here. And like I said, we've just got a really strong history of Avs-Bruins games trending to the over for both first period and full game. Not to mention, we just saw Boston play a matinee affair earlier this week on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. It was last Monday. It was the same start time, 1:00 p.m. Eastern time. First period over cashed in that game. Full game over cashed in that game. So we saw that Boston Bruins team play a early start afternoon affair, same time last Monday against San Jose as they're starting today. And we saw it kind of a sloppy track meet, back and forth kind of game. So I'm hoping that's the case here because I'm on the over by Fecta here. Over 1.5 first period, minus 115, and over 5.5 full game, minus 125 with the Avs and the Bruins. Ryan, start with you first on this one. What do you think, Colorado, Boston?
Yeah, I honestly kind of lean Boston here. I think it could be a good spot for him at home, early afternoon game. Something I really like. I lean Boston. I'm not sure if I'm going to take it yet, but I do like their team total over 2.5. I saw it was like minus 130. 6 straight matchups through 2022. The Bruins have covered that against Colorado. They beat Colorado this year 5-3. So yeah, that's something I kind of like. I could see goals early and often, like you mentioned. Colorado had a big shakeup. It's a day game in Boston, so I think there's going to be some goals. I do like that over 5.5 as well. But I'm sticking to that Boston team total.
Great stats from Mikey. Mikey's a big Bruin fan. He did a great job on the show yesterday. He'll be back on tomorrow's show and Monday with us as well. He put everything together as far as Boston, how they've done in the afternoon home game or afternoon games, period, home or away. But 5-4 record for Boston in these afternoon games, 5-4 to the over. 4 of the last 5 afternoon games for Boston, though, have gone over. 4-1 to the over their last 5 afternoon games. And again, at home specifically, 3-2 at TD Garden in the afternoon games for the Bruins. 3 overs, 2 unders in those 5 afternoon games. So I think, look, and Colorado, we talk about this. You almost have to treat this for Colorado like it's Kaprizov and Spurgeon coming back for that first game for Minnesota. Yeah, you're bringing in Natchez and Drury, and out goes Rantanen. That screws up chemistry maybe a little bit, that first game. Or you just wonder if it's a little disjointed, little out of sync, just everything not totally in rhythm yet when you're bringing 2 new players into the lineup like this. So I'm not in a rush to lay minus 150 with the Avs in this spot, especially knowing Boston's used to these games, used to these early start times, these afternoon games. I lean Boston too, not betting it, but I could see the reasons for people liking maybe the Bruins here today, early this afternoon. What do you think here, Alex? Avs, Bruins. Oh, you're muted. Or I don't know. Actually, you're not muted.
There we go.
But
No, yeah, I was the headset muted. Yeah, sorry. So yeah, I would lean with Bruins as well, but like I said, with the form that they're in, and with the Avs, like I said, kind of having, I don't know what to expect from the Avs. Like I said, could we see this be kind of the shakeup that's needed, and they gel right away, or could it take some time? That's the thing that kind of worries me about looking at a side here. I love the draw in this spot, and significantly mentioning about how Bruins play a lot of day games. And I know some people say, oh, well, that's kind of an arbitrary stat. In hockey, I think that's significant. We talk about this often. Certain teams like Boston, Buffalo, the Rangers, the Islanders, the Flyers, they play a lot of day games. So there's certain trends and stats that stick out, and I look at them more with day games. 4 of the last 6 Bruins games have gone past regulation in day games. So plus at 333, I got a BetMGM. I'm going with the draw here.
All right, draw for Alex here with the Avs and the Bruins. And I know there's going to be people wanting to bet Natchez, Drury, the new guys, to score in the first game. I'd be more interested in probably Natchez personally, but like I said, we'll see just how things fit in right now for Colorado right off the hop here. And plus, how is the team reacting? Like, Rantanen's beloved, obviously, by this Avalanche team, and not easy to see him gone. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of mindset they bring. Scott Wedgwood and Jeremy Swayman, by the way, confirmed as your goaltenders here this afternoon in this game. Wedgwood's definitely a little bit of a downgrade from Blackwood. Blackwood's just been so good. I think Wedgwood's just been a little slightly worse than that. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays here, getting this opportunity early this afternoon against the Boston Bruins. As far as the Bruins props, I'm going to stick to Geeky, Coyle, and Vinny Lettieri. I've mentioned all 3 of them lately quite a bit. They're the ones that I think have the great value on the Bruins side right now. All right, that's an early afternoon game. The next 2 games that we'll talk about both start at 4 p.m. Eastern. We've got Buffalo and Edmonton. Oilers minus 260. Home favorites, 6.5 total here, shaded to the over in this game. We've got Buffalo continuing their swing and their sojourn through Western Canada, which has started off, well, actually it included a stop in Seattle at the beginning of the road trip. 1-2 through the first 3 games of the road trip for the Sabres. Losses to Seattle, win at Vancouver 3-2, and then they lose 5-2 at Calgary, where really I thought they played well enough to win, but Dustin Wolf was the difference. He was absolutely outstanding, leading the Flames to victory. Edmonton gets their first win without Connor McDavid. This is the 3rd and final game of the Connor McDavid suspension. So it'll be interesting to see how they play in this final game before they get him back. James Reimer is projected right now as the starter. Stuart Skinner for the Edmonton Oilers, but neither one is confirmed right now. I think if you look at it for Buffalo, they kind of probably want to get Reimer into the lineup right now because he hasn't played in a while, and it's been a lot of starts lately for UPL, so it wouldn't shock me if that is indeed true, and Buffalo, Lindy Ruff decides to give James Reimer this opportunity. We'll have to see. One thing we want to point out about the Oilers, and I was on the over by Fecta, That Edmonton game was great for me the other night. We had the Oilers regulation, Oilers team total. We had the over by Fecta, 4-0 for me in that game. But one thing I mentioned on Thursday's show when talking about that Edmonton game, Edmonton's starting to ramp up with the first period overs right now. 8-2 in their last 10 games, and I believe it's now a 5 consecutive over streak in the first period for Edmonton. So this is honestly another over by Fecta. This one, I like the first period a little bit more than the full game. But this is another over by Fecta for me to start the card. In fact, we got 3 over by Fectas coming up for me to start the card here with these 3 afternoon games. It's just coincidence it worked out that way. Edmonton, by the way, here in Edmonton, we've seen 6-1, 4-2, 8-3 it was last year with the Oilers, just pounding the Sabres here in Edmonton. Last year, the Oilers getting the victory there. I don't know how to feel about this because I think Edmonton's played 2 very good games without Connor McDavid. They played well against Vancouver. They should have beat Washington if it wasn't for Logan Thompson. He was absolutely outstanding. So kind of feel like I don't want to fade Edmonton, but this is a huge price. Buffalo, dropping the game against Calgary. They played well enough to beat Calgary. Could they maybe be live here? Perhaps. Is it maybe a flat spot for Edmonton because they're anticipating number 97's return in his next game? And what is Edmonton's next game? I think that's important to note. It's the game, obviously, that McDavid's returning in. It's Seattle. They play Seattle on Tuesday. So it's not a huge, look-ahead spot or a big-time rival or a team that they're battling with at the top of the standings. But I definitely would be leery of Edmonton at this price and this spot. It's once again the question of, do I trust Buffalo enough, to take them? But I think at plus 210, I don't mind anyone taking a shot with the Sabres. Maybe I sprinkle just a tiny bet on that. But primarily here, I'm liking first period over, full game over here. And how about, by the way, for prop in this game, why not, Jeff Skinner for the Edmonton Oilers? Why not against his former team? Taking on the Buffalo Sabres. I think Jeff Skinner's got a chance here to maybe find the back of the net for the Edmonton Oilers now as he faces his old team. Alex, what do you think here? Sabres, Oilers.
Yeah, I'm with you on that first period over. I'm playing a little bit small pregame at minus 130, and then going to try and look for a little bit in game. But that's the only thing I've got here. Like I said, can't trust Buffalo, even at this big of a price. This just feels like one of those spots where Edmonton can come out and win 4-1, 5-1. And yeah, 2 p.m. local, not really a usual start time for Edmonton. They've had a couple of games this year. I remember they beat Dallas 6-3 at a home game with an early time start. So no real advantage there with Edmonton. Buffalo obviously used to playing earlier day games.
Yeah, I find it's worth it with Jeff Skinner. He hasn't been scoring lately, but hey, against Buffalo, I think the time is right for him maybe to get back on track. He's still on the top power play unit for this team right now for the Oilers, so he's still going to get opportunity. It's a matter of making good on it. Ryan, how about you here? Buffalo, Edmonton.
I really liked that. I hopped on the first period over last night. I think it was like minus 130, minus 135. And then checking Chris Otto's chart, as you mentioned too, Ian, the Oilers are, I think, 8-2 to the first period over in the last 10, and Buffalo's on a decent run. They're like 6-4. So definitely favors the first period over here. I really like that in this spot. Afternoon game, the place is gonna be rocking, so I like that first period over. That's all I'm on pregame right now. I do also I have been taking a look at the Oilers first period puck line at plus 105, plus 110 range. I think they could come out hot at home, so I am looking at that, but I am only on the first period over as of right now.
Yeah, I agree. That's good. That's I like. We seem to have a lot of consensus here with this one, no doubt. Like I said, I would take a shot here with Jeff Skinner. Like I said here today for Edmonton, Henrique, might be worth a look here as well. Arvidsson and Podkolzin with Draisaitl because of just their spot in the lineup, for sure. Yuri Kulik, we've talked about him centering Peterka and Thompson. Didn't score the last game, but boy, that line was outstanding for the Buffalo Sabres in their comeback against Vancouver. So Yuri Kulik, I'm still going back to that well one more time here in this game. And again, like we said, we don't have the goalies confirmed here yet for this game this afternoon. And by the way, I want to point out another thing that's good for the people liking the overs in this game. Buffalo played a game on Monday in Seattle, the exact same start time, 4 p.m. Eastern time. And that game just exploded. Just went through the roof with goals early. And obviously, first period and full game over cashed easily. The last time we saw Buffalo playing a game at this start time, 4 p.m. Eastern, which was on Monday last week against Seattle on the Martin Luther King holiday. All right, next up, we've got Pittsburgh and Seattle. Seattle Kraken -115, home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. We got a lot of games on the board, so I'm just going to be brief here. This is system play. Seattle got shut out by Washington in their last game, so first period over, full game over. I mentioned I'm on the over by Fecta in each of the 3 afternoon games, so hopefully we see some goals in these first 3 games. But this is just the system play. Obviously, Seattle off the shutout loss to Washington. First period over, full game over with the Penguins and the Kraken here in this one. Not to mention Pittsburgh, they're still not very good defensively. You don't get 5.5s with their full game totals very often. So this does feel like maybe now a bit of a discount here with the way the Penguins have obviously all season had their issues defensively. Seattle, by the way, with the overrun. Now the first period overrun finally got halted in their last game, but they're still 10-2, the Seattle Kraken. 10-2 to the first period over in their last 12 games. So it's a over by Fecta. I lean Kraken. I might even bet Kraken here because I don't trust Pittsburgh. I think Seattle comes out strong and hard after a bad game. It actually was a bad game because that was a true dominant shutout win because Washington was almost double in shots on Seattle the other night. So, system play. Maybe a smaller bet for me on the Seattle Kraken money line as well. Alex, what do you think here? Pittsburgh, Seattle.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on the system play. I would probably wait in game to bet. I think this could be back and forth enough to where you could, if you like either side, you should be able to grab a plus price at some point. So I do lean with Seattle as well, but I'm going to wait and bet that in game. But I'm already on first period over and full game over 5.5.
There you go. First period, full game over with the system in effect. Ryan, how about you? Penguins, Kraken.
Yeah, I'm honestly with you. I lean Kraken. I might take a small shot with them. I just don't trust Pittsburgh at all. I don't want to bet on them. I do like that first period over. That's another case where a team is 8-2 in their last 10, and Seattle's 6-4. So that's a decent trend. I'm going to hop on the first period over. I believe it is -135, -140. Or that's the wrong game. Sorry.
We have a couple game time decisions, by the way, for Seattle. Jared McCann and Chandler Stevenson, both of them right now game time decisions for the Seattle Kraken in this game. So keep an eye on that. Brian Rust.
Were they flu bug? They were illness, right?
I think so. I think so. It's a lower body for Brian Rust on the Pittsburgh side.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see if he's able to go. No, it's actually Stevenson upper body and Jared McCann, undisclosed reason for him. It may not necessarily be illness. So keep an eye. We got Rust on Pittsburgh, and we've got McCann and Steven and Riker Evans, the defenseman, as well for Seattle. So
that's something we should be making a note of too. But this whole week we've been seeing guys late scratches. It's been at least 1 or 2 every night. So check the lineups. An hour before, check warm-ups, see who's in and who's out.
Yeah, so it looks like the first period over is a -120. I really like that. That's the only thing I'm on as of now for pregame, but I might take, depending on what you guys have said with the late lineup changes, I might take a shot with Seattle as well.
Yeah, definitely. As far as props, Schwartz, Beniers, Kakko, we've talked about. The top line's been pretty good. They were actually quiet the other night against Washington, but I expect if they're going to have a chance to bounce back here against Pittsburgh, obviously a weaker defensive team, you would think that they are going to probably maybe look to get things rolling here. Meanwhile, you look at the Penguins, like I said, I'm going to go back to the well. Cody Glass repair, Cody Glass replaced. Didn't score the last game, but he still got 2 in the last 4 games for the Pittsburgh Penguins. All right, next game is, and this is the beginning of the night portion of the Saturday card, New Jersey, Montreal. We've got New Jersey -165, road favorites, 6 the total here, shaded to the over in this game. This is at these prices, until further notice, I'm betting Montreal, and I am on Montreal here. But I don't love them in this spot, and here's why. New Jersey got their ass kicked by Keith. Went on a tirade, just lost it on them. The day of the Detroit game, just lost it on them with what they were doing in the morning skate and the way they've been obviously playing lately. They had lost 4 in a row. Actually, not the Detroit game, the Boston game. And they came out in that Boston game at home, and they won 5-1, the New Jersey Devils. Now they're trying to get on a little bit of a roll. New Jersey. And sometimes when you have that win to snap the losing streak, sometimes it propels you, right? You then turn one win to snap a losing streak into maybe 2, 3, 4 in a row. You get on a little bit of a heater. You get some of that confidence back. But at this price, it's still Montreal for me. Terry Ray Vegas mentions the track record off a loss for the Montreal Canadiens, which has been very good. But New Jersey getting reamed out by Keefe. The response was phenomenal. It was their best game in a while when they dismantled the Bruins 5-1. It does concern me that they build off that and they get back to their game. And it also concerns me, obviously, New Jersey's owned this series 7-3 the last 10, 4-1 the last 5. And especially here in Montreal. I think they've won 4 straight times here in Montreal, this New Jersey team. So we're going against that series history a little bit. But there's a price play for me. Montreal is not a plus 150 team the way they're playing right now. So that's why I'm on them. I don't love them in this spot as much as I've loved them in others, but I'm still on them tonight. By the way, as far as goaltending for this game, New Jersey and Montreal, Jakub Dobiš in net. You know we have no problem backing him. He's been outstanding. Jake Allen projected for the New Jersey Devils, although that is not confirmed, but I would expect it to be because of Jacob Markstrom's injury, causing him to be out for the next 4 to 6 weeks with that sprained MCL. To be honest with you, when I first saw that injury for Markstrom the other night, I thought it could have been maybe season ender. That's how bad it looked initially. So New Jersey actually kind of dodged a bullet that it's only 4 to 6 weeks, but obviously he'll be missed. There's no doubt about it. Jake Allen can't quite do what Jacob Markstrom can do, especially long-term. You're now going to have to ask Jake Allen to start a bunch more games, and that's not necessarily what you want moving forward. So Montreal, probably now with Allen being the guy in net and the injury to Markstrom, I would probably split Montreal rather than put it all on the money line, split it with money line and team total here in this game, because you can get that Habitant team total here in this game at 2.5 minus 128 at FanDuel. So pretty good price here with that. Alex, what do you think here with New Jersey and Montreal?
Yeah, like you said, I'm on the Habs just off of habit, pun intended. Plus 145 at this price. This is just a tad steep. Even with New Jersey, like I said, I get it. You know, coming off a loss, they're a team worth backing. But Jake Allen going up against his old club, I don't think that's going to move the needle. And definitely he's not a goalie that you want to lay 165 or 170 with. So it like I said, smaller play, but I do like the Habs. And like I said, they're just one of those teams that we keep riding. If they win here, we just keep on riding them.
Absolutely. I lean over, but I don't like it like I did the first 3 games. What do you think here in this one as much? What do you think here in this one, Ryan? Devils, Canadiens.
Yeah, that over scares me a little just because of how good Jakub Dobiš has been. I do lean Montreal here. I think there's some value, even a safer play a little bit is their team total over 2.5 minus 140. So I think I'm going to take a small shot with that. They've been solid lately, way ahead of schedule of what people predicted, and they've been playing good hockey, especially at home. So I do kind of lean Montreal here with that plus 145 price, but I'm not sure if I'm going to take it yet.
Yeah, as far as, like I said, Lionel Newhook, I think Slafkovsky's going to start to rip things up a little bit and get going because he scored, earlier this week. I could see him maybe get – Lane Hudson, we've talked about how good his props have been, obviously, for the Montreal Canadiens on that blue line. It looks like for the New Jersey Devils, we've got Mercer. Mercer's the one to me. Dawson Mercer is just one of the more underrated players in the league. He was slumping right along with the team, but he busted out for 2 goals in that win against Boston. Dawson Mercer is the value guy, I think, right now for the New Jersey Devils. Obviously, fellow Texas native like Matty Robb and Ryan, Stefan Nason, always a threat to score on the second line right now with the captain, Nico Hischier and Jesper Bratt. It looks like Paul Cotter maybe up on the top line for the New Jersey Devils tonight. So great value on him. And remember, he's been a streaky goal scorer at times this year for the Devils as well. So if Paul Cotter is indeed on the top line, he's probably worth a bet as far as a goal prop. Calgary, Minnesota. Minnesota minus 150, home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. I was leery of backing Minnesota getting Kaprizov and Spurgeon back against Utah, but I did not expect them to get blanked. I said, okay, maybe struggle, maybe lose the game, not get shut out. But that's exactly what we saw against Utah the other night You would expect now they get the ring rust, so to speak, comes off a little bit for both Kaprizov and Spurgeon. Second game back in the lineup. They'll be a little bit better here in this one tonight. Marc-Andre Fleury, by the way, back in net for the Minnesota Wild. If you're noticing with the Flower lately, he's starting to get a few more starts as confidence in Gustafsson wanes a little bit here with what we've seen from him the last little while. And Marc-Andre Fleury suddenly 4-1 with a .932 save percentage in his last 5 starts. So suddenly John Hines shifting gears a little bit, giving the 40-year-old, a few more starts now in net of late. We'll see if he can keep playing at this level. That's always the dicey part. Can you trust Fleury at this portion of his career to keep this level of play rolling moving forward is the question. I hate that we have a system play when our guy hungry like the wolf, when Dustin Wolf is in net. That scares me to death, looking at first period and full game over with him in net. But system's the system. Minnesota's off the shutout loss. Maybe I dial it back a little bit as far as the amount that I place on this, but it's the system, so got to take it. First period over, full game over. I think Minnesota bounces back here, but do I want to lay -150? And remember, this is Calgary on the road now. Let's keep that in mind as well, where the Flames have clearly, had their issues throughout the course of the season. Although that being said, the last 5 road games here for the Calgary Flames are actually 3-2, and one of those wins was against Winnipeg. So they've been a little bit better on the road lately, and all of that is enough to say, you know what, Minnesota should be better now. Kaprizov and Spurgeon should be more comfortable here. Second game now back from injury, but -150, no thanks. Alex, what do you think here? Calgary, Minnesota.
Yeah, so I love the over bifecta here, obviously being that it's a system play. Even with Dustin Wolf in net, like you said, this is Calgary on the road, and this is a Minnesota team at home that, like I said, coming off of a shutout loss, I think they're really going to play well in front of their fans. And today is hockey day in Minnesota. This is a day where the Wild have historically dominated 13-3-1 on hockey day in Minnesota whenever they play these games at home.
Although I think they lost last year, am I right?
They did lose last year. So I think this is going to be a game where I'm looking at the Wild plus 105 in regulation, along with the first period over and the full game over 5.5.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, that's a great call for Po Buddy's Nerfic. You beat me to it because I was going to mention some props here right after Alex finished giving his thoughts. I agree with that. Peltier, who it might be bumped up the lineup. We're just waiting on confirmation. But even if he isn't, he's played well. He had a great game against Buffalo the other night. He is playing well. He's worth a shot right now for the props for the Calgary Flames. No doubt. Coronado, Coleman.
I see on left wing lock, he will be moved up. So
there you go. So Peltier, absolutely. That's what I was hearing too from Huskus. So yeah, no doubt. Peltier's worth a shot. Absolutely, 100% here in this game tonight. No question. What do you think here in this one, Ryan, with Flames and Wild?
Not a ton for me this game, but I'm glad Alex likes it because I'm right there with him. I have Wild in regulation plus 105. I didn't even take into account the hockey day in Minnesota, but I like it even more knowing that that place is going to be rocking. And yeah, I think it's good value for a Minnesota team that's going to come out hungry and be looking to start fast. So give me Wild in regulation plus 105.
That's a good point about those the four wins when they've been priced as a road underdog this season for Calgary, as Jonathan's posting here. Anaheim, Chicago, San Jose, Montreal. That's the sisters of the poor right there. And I think it was Montreal. Montreal was not playing well.
Early Montreal, right? Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, Minnesota or pass. You're right. Look, if Dustin Wolf has 42 saves and Calgary wins 2-1 or 3-1, I'll tip the cap and say salute. But this is Minnesota or pass for me.
And he's the kind of guy who can have 40 saves and lose 3-2. You know, so that's the other thing too. It's not going to necessarily be that Wolf has a bad game and the Flames lose. It could be he has an excellent game and then he just gives up a couple.
Yeah. No doubt. Yeah, draw maybe 2 I sprinkle on. I do agree. This probably feels like a tight game either way. All right, Dallas Stars in action again. We just saw them last night with a nice home win against Vegas. Back in action tonight in St. Louis against the Blues. We've got Dallas minus 135, road favorites, total 5.5 here across the board. Definitely a St. Louis spot. There's no doubt, but doesn't mean I bet them. But I'd lean that way here a little bit. We're obviously on a back-to-back here going to see Casey DeSmith. And Casey DeSmith's fought the good fight. He's been really good more often than not for the Stars in a backup goaltending role for them this season. I did not like his game at all, though. The last time we saw him, which was against the Colorado Avalanche on the road last week, it was signs of maybe, I don't know, decline, but the more starts a backup goalie gets, especially when he started the season well, you expect some level of drop off, especially when the numbers for DeSmith before that Colorado start were a little bit above his career averages. So, like I said, I lean to St. Louis here in this spot. Dallas too. One thing I'll say about them is they've had this bad little win-loss thing starting to develop. With their play lately. They beat Montreal, they lose to Ottawa. They beat Toronto on the road, they lose to Montreal at home. They beat Detroit at home, they lose to Carolina. They have not been great at putting these two wins together lately in a row. So definitely Blues spot, leaning in that direction. Do I bet them? We'll see. I want to wait to see who the Blues are going with in this game as well. But definitely it's Blues or pass for me from a side perspective. Ryan, what do you think here for your Stars? Tough spot to me. What do you think, though? Dallas, St. Louis.
Yeah, it favors St. Louis for sure. Dallas is 3-1 this year on the second leg of a back-to-back, though I believe their only loss is to Ottawa a couple weeks ago in Ottawa. So I'm staying off sides and totals. It was a big win for them yesterday in Vegas. There are some player props that I like and point props that I like. Might take a small shot with like Radek Faksa. It seems like anytime former Stars play against Dallas, they like to score. I've seen Delandria do it. I think Faksa actually did it when they played in Dallas earlier this year. I can't remember, but and then the Stars top line is all heating up. Robertson and Hintz have been phenomenal. Robertson is on a tear right now, so I'm looking at some of the goal and point props for the top guys. But other than that, I'm going to stay off this game in terms of a side and just enjoy the game. Like I said, I could see Dallas winning. They're 3-1 on back-to-backs. But St. Louis is rested. They're at home. And it's tricky. I don't know if Dallas will come out hot in the first period and then kind of wear down a little bit on second night of the back-to-back, or they'll start slow and then ramp up their game as it goes on. So it's hard to tell for me. I'm going to stay off the sides and totals, just watch and enjoy. But some of those point props and goal props are definitely worth a look right now with how hot those guys have been. Especially, I know you were on him for a bit, but Dodonov, he keeps finding ways to find the score sheet, and he's going to keep having good value if he's playing with Robertson and Hintz. So.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There's no question. He is certainly keep going with it. There's value there. And obviously now not as much value with Jason Robertson, obviously, but he's on a roll right now. You can't really say no to any assist props, goal props, point props involving him right now with the way he's been scoring for the Dallas Stars. No question. Matt Duchene continues to be good. That Duchene, Ben, and Bork line's been pretty solid for them lately as well. I can't believe I missed this live. I'm looking at it right. This is a case of me having to handicap 350 goddamn college basketball teams Friday overnight and Saturday morning and a 13-game NHL card, all within like a 6-hour span. There's just things you're going to miss, things you're not going to catch right away. Obviously, St. Louis, I did the handy. I said it's probably a St. Louis or pass, but I'm just seeing now the head-to-head shit with these two teams. 4 of the last 5 meetings have gone past regulation, and 6 straight have been decided by 1 goal. I mean, that's got to be a draw bet now that I see that. Has to be. My goodness, it's just been 6 straight, but with these two teams have been decided by 1 goal. So they've been close games, and 4 of those 6 have gone past regulation. So that's a draw candidate if I've ever seen it. Alex, what do you think here, Dallas, St. Louis?
Yeah, absolutely. Draw season spot. 2 division foes who play each other close. And Jonathan Davis, I like his look. He mentioned in the chat where it says 4 of the last 5 have actually fallen 2-1 finals. So he went 1-1 correct score plus 2,000. So I might tail him on that.
That's an Alex B special. You've done some correct scores in the past.
Score, a little correct score 1-1 and play a little under as well. I could see this being a tight, low scoring game. It's an early evening start, and like I said, Dallas. I think now you have a lot of teams where they know who their number one starter is, right? Like your Dallases and Winnipegs of the world. Now they're going to start to play a little bit more tight defensively in front of their backups. So that's kind of something that you'll start to see happen. Like you said, you mentioned in regards with the Smiths, but even with not just start, either way, whoever's in goal for Dallas here, I'm looking to draw.
Yeah. All right, draw. Yeah, that draw definitely. When I saw that, now that I've seen it, it's like, whoa, that is some strong, tight games, close games, and obviously past regulation history with these two teams. See if that continues tonight. All right, Tampa Bay, Detroit. We've got the Lightning, minus 135 road favorites. The total here sitting at 6.5, pretty much across the board. I guess you could look at this two ways. You could look at it and say, gosh, Tampa Bay was life and death last night to beat the Chicago Blackhawks. Not exactly a good sign, but you could also look at, well, they dominated in the third period and really started to take control of the game. And maybe it's going to be a situation where they build on that, certainly moving forward. But I think when you look at this spot, it's still pretty tricky with the Tampa Bay Lightning.
I was trying to warn him. I think his screen froze. Yeah, his audio was clipping, and that's usually a sign that he probably had too many windows up. So we'll wait for Ian to get back in. But yeah, this is an interesting game with Tampa and Detroit. Obviously, two Atlantic Division foes. Like I said, with the Bolts coming with that comeback win last night, you wonder, what's the energy level going to be like? What's the, will they be able to kind of carry that momentum over from what we saw last night? And then obviously Tampa's one of those kind of teams that can certainly do that. Ian, you back?
We are back. The cameras in a fucking alternated, but after that power went out just briefly there, but that's okay.
Oh, okay.
We'll figure that it's just like it's a reverse angle here. I don't know how the hell that happened, but nevertheless, we'll figure that out. But nevertheless, Tampa Bay, Detroit, all I was saying was, look, Tampa Bay has had issues on the road. They were life and death to beat Detroit last night, clearly, or Chicago rather, last night in that game. But they also, you could say, they really dominated that third period, and it provides them some confidence moving forward. The bottom line is I do think there's a really good, better spot for Detroit. It would be Red Wings or pass for me in this game, quite honestly, and you're getting them at a home underdog price. You're still talking about a Tampa Bay team that they were staring down, 1-8 in their last 9 road games after the second period last night, and they win, and obviously now they're 2-7 in their last 9 road games, but that's still not exactly a great track record in terms of, we're going to trust Tampa on the road here as a favorite in this situation. And what I like here for Detroit is they got stomped by Tampa last week down in Tampa 5-1, looking to build on that a little bit. So the Red Wings are worth a look here to me, plus 115, as well as maybe Detroit team total over. I know they saved Vasilevsky for tonight, but Vasilevsky's been human lately. Other than one good start I think he had against Anaheim, hasn't been nearly as strong in recent games. So we'll go a little bit with the Red Wings money line and team total split here in this game. Detroit's kind of cooled off with the over by Fekta under McClellan. It started off like he was, we had first period over and full game over cashing a lot early in the tenure of McClellan when he first retired. But Detroit's played them, exactly, John, played Tampa Bay very tough here in the Motor City. I think they're worth a shot here as home dogs. It's been a long road trip here, too, for Tampa. They played a lot of games this week, all with travel, now back-to-back. Tricky situation for the Lightning that they're walking into. Alex, what do you think here, Red Wings, Lightning?
Oh, yeah, I was saying when he clipped out, I was saying about how Tampa Bay, maybe that momentum could carry over from the last game into the game now. And so I would maybe look for a first period over. Here we go. Sorry. Yeah. Look for a first period over in this game with some of that momentum carrying over. But I like Detroit here as well. Full money line. I got plus 118 at FanDuel. So that's what I'm rolling with. First period over. And like I said, I might try to add a little bit more on in-game because I'm seeing 130. So I'll play a little bit small at minus 130 and add a little bit more closer to a plus price. But I'm right there with you on Detroit money line. All
right. Ryan, what do you think here? Lightning, Red Wings.
I also like Detroit. I think it's good value. Tampa played last night, had to put everything, squeak that one out. So plus 115 at home. I like Detroit. I also like, in terms of props, I like Dylan Larkin anytime. I think he's plus 150. He has 7 goals in his last 10 games. He's been playing well. So I do like Larkin in this spot to come out and pot one at home.
Yeah, Dylan Larkin. Everyone up front has played better for the Red Wings under McClellan. DeBrincat, Kane before his injury was playing pretty well of late. So we'll see if those forwards continue to carry the way here for the Detroit Red Wings moving forward. All right. And by the way, Kasper and Berggren, those are the guys for me if I'm betting player props for Detroit. Those are undervalued commodities right now. They've both stepped up a little bit offensively in recent games. Marco Kasper, Jonathan Berggren for me. I think good value with both of them for Detroit. All right, Los Angeles and Columbus. We've got the Kings minus 170, road favorites, 6 the total here in this game. Kings and Blue Jackets. Kings on the road, minus 170. And we know the Kings have been awesome at home. And the Kings obviously had a bounce-back win against Florida after the dud they had against Pittsburgh, the first game at home after the fires. But 2-1 win against Florida. They bounced back. Now they go on the road. They're actually 11, and it's been a wild home road split with this team. They're 11-15 on the road. They're 15-4 at home. That means it's a huge gap in their home road performance this year. I don't want to lay this kind of a price with the Kings at home. Jackets are off a 7-4 loss to the Carolina Hurricanes. They return home to Nationwide Arena, where they have a solid 16-5-3 home record this year. You look at this here head-to-head matchups. LA's won 4 straight. We'll see if that continues here in this game. You know, Columbus, before the last meeting in Columbus, which was last year, and the Kings won at 4-3 in overtime. So they barely won that game. But before that, Columbus had won 3 of the 4 meetings between these teams here at Nationwide Arena, and those were some pretty bad Jackets teams. So I'm kind of leaning Columbus here. It is the problem is, yes, I was going to get to that. That's dad's trip for LA. Don't love going against that, so I'm probably off the game. Value is with Columbus for sure. I don't want LA in this price range on the road, but yeah, the dad's trip, other things may keep me off Columbus. I'd lean that way, though. If I'm playing at this price point, it's Jackets or nothing. Alex, what do you think here? Kings, Blue Jackets.
I see this rated over 5.5 minus 115 at FanDuel. I'm gonna go over 5.5 with that. I was gonna say I like the 6, but definitely grab that over 5.5. Like I said, with the dad's trip, I think we could see a little boost from LA. But like they said, they've struggled against Columbus, and the Jackets have been an over machine. So yeah, give me over 5.5. Just keeping it simple with this game.
Yeah, 5.5 is cheap in a Columbus home game. I'll tell you that. I know 4-1 at 5 goals the last home game against San Jose, but you go and look, and fewer than 6 goals in a Columbus Blue Jackets home game this year. It's been few and far between. We had 7, 4, 8. I'm going back looking at all the Jackets games. 7. We had 2, 8, 8, 13, 9, 7, 7, 8, 7. 3, 6, 9, 9, 10, 8. Then the last home game was 5. But those were all the total goals I just rhymed off for the Columbus home games. There's not many that fell below 6. So, over 5.5, I get it from a value standpoint. It's just, can LA help you get there? Because LA, you're right, not a team that we necessarily think of we can trust night in and night out to put up the goals necessary. That being said, the games in Columbus, 3 straight between these teams have gone over 4-3, 6-5, 4-3, and all gone to regulation. So the draw could be something to consider here as well. The last 3 meetings in Columbus, like I said, they all went over the total 4-3, 6-5, 4-3, and they all went to overtime. Keep that in mind.
Last four overtime games or last 4 in Columbus have gone to overtime.
Last 4 exactly. Go back even further. The 3-2 game in Columbus in overtime back in 2019. So, yeah, the drawing over, I could make a case for, especially if you can find that 5.5 out there, which you did. What do you think here, Ryan? LA, Columbus.
Yeah, I don't really want to lay aside with either team. Something I do like is Columbus team total over 2.5. minus 125. They've scored 3 or more goals in 4 of their last 5, even while losing 3 of those games. So I do like them to score 3 goals here at home tonight.
Yeah, as far as props, like I said, you got to continue to rock with Adam Fantilli right now. He's been great. Obviously, he had the cool off against the Islanders after the hat trick in Toronto, but back home, he'll probably get back on the score sheet. Kent Johnson's the guy right now for me. Kent Johnson's really starting to get it rolling getting the opportunities, more time on ice, more power play chances in line with Luca Del Bel Belouz and JVR, which has actually been a nice line for them, believe it or not. That second line with all the injuries with Shinikov and Monahan and Jenner Sillinger, others out. That's been a nice line that Dean Evason's put together. So those are some props for Columbus. For Los Angeles, I think Alex Turcotte still with Kopitar and Kempe is good value there with him right now. We'll see if he can find the back of the net once again. Fogle with Byfield and Moore, not a bad consideration as well. So those are some props there for me with the Kings and the Blue Jackets tonight. All right, let's roll along now. We've got the Battle of Ontario, Toronto Maple Leafs and Ottawa Senators. We've got Ottawa minus 115, home favorites. The total here sitting at 5.5 across the board in this matchup. Obviously, the thing to note is we've got Ottawa in the system play, but not your average system play. Not just one shutout loss, but back-to-back shutout losses for the Ottawa Senators going into this game tonight against their rivals, Toronto. Ottawa with a 5-0 loss to the Rangers, followed that up with a 2-0 shutout loss to the Boston Bruins. So that is back-to-back shutout losses here for the Ottawa Senators going into this game tonight. And this situation has occurred. And by the way, Anton Forsberg is confirmed in net for Ottawa. Allmark still not quite ready. And Travis Green opting not to go with the very solid young Finn, Levi Merilainen, tonight, instead deciding to go with Anton Forsberg. We expect Joseph Woll in net for Toronto, but it's not confirmed yet. But I do think it's going to be him. Lots of injuries on both sides. Norris, center out. Gregor was already out. Bernard Docker was already out for Ottawa. Nick Jensen on the blue line is now out for them as well. So there's a few injuries for Ottawa. Of course, Toronto's been without Tavares now for a bit. Pacioretty's still on IR. And the latest is Matthew Nyes, out day-to-day right now for the Leafs. Huge absence considering of how just awesome he's been with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner on that top line. So the good news is, from a prop standpoint, there's going to be a lot of opportunities with some lineup shifting here for both teams going into this game, and I'll get to some of that in just a moment. This is a great prop game. It really is. And part of that is I do expect goals. We've seen 3 previous times a team is coming off back-to-back shutout losses this season. This will be the 4th time. But in the 3 previous times, 3-0 to the first period over, and I believe I've got this right. The total goals scored in the 3 games earlier this season for a team off back-to-back shutout losses was like 11 goals, 9 goals, and 8 goals. Like, they flew over the total. Tons of goals. Like, this was the spot for the outburst. This was the spot for the eruption offensively for games involving these teams off of back-to-back shutout losses. So this is definitely an over. This might be an even step up as far as the wager size for me, over by Fecta here. Over 1.5 and over 5.5. It's 3-0 to the first period over back-to-back shutout loss games. Flying over in the first, flying over in the full game. 11, 9, and 8 goals in those 3 games as well, total. So this might even be 7.5, 8.5 alt total type of game if you want to get a little bold with it, because of just the track record and these extreme high-scoring games in each and every instance for teams off back-to-back shutout losses. So definitely the system play for me. I'm tempted to take Toronto here, though. I don't trust Forsberg. Toronto's off a game that didn't sit well with them, losing to Columbus 5-1 on Wednesday night. I think Toronto at this price I'd be interested in too as well. But primarily I like the over by Fecta. What do you think here in this one, Alex? Leafs, Sens.
Yeah, I like the over by Fecta too. And I'm right there with you. I think there's a lot of heavy stuff early in this game. So I'm going first period over 1.5. You can get minus 110 at FanDuel. Fantastic price. You get plus 186 for both teams to score in the first period. And I also like Ottawa to get the first goal. So I'm going first period team to score first goal. Ottawa plus 130. That's different than just first goal of the game. That has to happen in the first period. It's a 3-way market. So there's a none at plus 380, and Toronto's also at plus money. But I got Ottawa plus 130 to get the first goal of the game in the first period, along with both teams to score in the first period, and that first period over to go with that over 5.5. So those are my 4 plays in the battle for Ontario.
All right, Ryan, what do you think here? Leafs Sens.
I am on that first period over, as well as the over 5.5. I do kind of lean Toronto, but I haven't taken them yet. And then with all the injuries they have, I feel like it's a good, spot for Matthews to step up and have a good game. I think he has like 50 points, almost 47 points in 33 career games against Ottawa. And with all the guys they're missing, he's definitely going to need to have a big game. So I might look at those, 2+ goal props and stuff like that with him, knowing that he needs to step up if they want to have a good chance of winning today.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. You know what? That Leaf team total over 2.5 as well. Only minus 145 or so. I think they get 3 goals here for sure, because I think they do win the game. That could be a way to go about it too, not just money line, but maybe split it with team total for the Leafs. This is a great prop game. Let me explain why. A lot of injuries on both sides. What does that mean? It means opportunity for players to move up the lineup. We've got David Perron, the veteran, is back in the lineup for Ottawa, and not only back in the lineup, he's playing with Stützle and with Tkachuk on the top line. So I think David Perron's worth a shot there on that top line tonight for the Ottawa Senators. No doubt Ridley Gregg's back to the second line, and we talked about how when Ridley Gregg got those opportunities earlier in the season, he made the most of them. So Ridley Gregg with Batherson and Giroux, probably worth a shot there as far as maybe looking for a goal prop from him. And then for Toronto, Mr. McMahon, Bobby McMahon, is going to get that chance, it looks like, tonight to take the spot of Matthew Nyes and to get the chance to play with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner. So Bobby McMahon, he'll fit in nicely there. He's got that big frame like Matthew Nyes. He's shown some finishing ability. So definitely I think the Bobby McMahon certainly could make an impact there with Matthews and Marner tonight. Domi with Holmberg and Nylander. Looks like that's going to be the second line. So Domi gets a little bit of a bump up. So it might be a Max Domi night potentially for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Nick Robertson on the road. He's scored more of his goals on the road than at home. So Nick Robertson might be worth a look here as well for the Leafs. And by the way, we've got, I believe they're going to put the kid they called up. Now, Fraser Minton's been up for a bit. He's in the lineup. But I'm talking about another kid they called up, Jacob Quillen. Jacob Quillen with 15 points in 35 games down in the AHL with the Marlies, and with Connor Dewar and Pacioretty and Tavares and others out, I think they're going to give him the chance on that fourth line tonight. So keep that in mind. But yeah, Bobby McMahon's my favorite Leaf prop tonight, getting that chance on the top line. In fact, let me see what the price is on that, because we might be revisiting that for Bargain Bin Special segment coming up later in the show. All right, next up, we've got Carolina and the New York Islanders. Carolina minus 225 road favorites here. Total in this game sitting at 5.5, shaded to the over in this game. Right now, in my opinion, the Carolina Hurricanes, and I'm waiting to see who's in net for them tonight, because maybe I pull back a little bit if it's Kochetkov, because I respect him a lot more right now than Freddie Anderson. But certainly if it was going to be Freddie Anderson, I'd be hopping all over this over 5.5 here with the Hurricanes and the Islanders tonight. Not to mention the fact, too, that you got Rantanen, who I think might get to Carolina in time to be able to make his Hurricanes debut here in this game tonight against the Islanders. We'll have to wait and see on that. So I'm still interested in an over here in this game at 5.5, but I'll really like it if it's Freddie Anderson and net. Kochetkov, I do respect him a lot more. And right now, some sites have projected to be Kochetkov, so we'll hold off on that. Marcus Högberg is going to get the opportunity here for the New York Islanders. He started 3 games. He gave up 3 against Pittsburgh, but he was pretty good in the last 2. He only gave up 1 goal to Utah, and he gave up 1 goal against San Jose. But Utah and San Jose, not quite Carolina. We'll have to see if Högberg is going to be able to shut the door here against a Carolina team that should be amped up, bringing Rantanen into the fold. He is expected to make his Hurricanes debut tonight. I can't touch Carolina in this price range, though, on the road. We have talked about Carolina on the road and their struggles, even with Rantanen coming in. Minus 225, can't lay that. It's that simple. And we do have to give the Islanders some credit. They have won 3 in a row. 3-game winning streaks have not been commonplace for the New York Islanders. The problem is they have not won more than 3 games in a row. The last time they won 3 in a row, earlier this month, they beat Boston, Vegas, and Utah on the road simultaneously. They came back home and they got shut out by Ottawa. So they have not won 4 straight this season. Not one single 4-game win streak yet for the New York Islanders, and I'm not betting on that to change tonight. So it's one of those games where I can't take the Islanders. I don't want the Islanders. I just can't take Carolina, though, at this price, minus 225. So over 5.5. I am interested in that. Probably will bet it still, even if it's Kochetkov. Maybe and Carolina, look, they've changed their spots here this year a little bit. They're not the same defensive team. They do have goalie question marks. And now you bring in Rantanen. He makes them a much better offensive. Just one guy makes them a much better offensive team because he is lethal on the power play. He helps them at 5-on-5 offensively. And he's one guy that is a proven elite level finisher on a team that sometimes doesn't have those littered through the lineup. So I am still interested in over 5.5. Would like it a lot more, though, if Mr. Freddie Krueger, makes the start here tonight for the Carolina Hurricanes. He's played like Freddie Krueger in these 2 games. Scary. What do you think here in this one, Alex? Hurricanes, Islanders.
Yeah, I'm on that first period over regardless of who starts for Carolina. But if it is Anderson, yes, I will be adding 5.5 and have to act quickly with that because those will mostly turn to 6s in some books should he be confirmed. And like I said, you can't take Carolina. This is that, how you eat something, you feel that big pocket build up, and then all of a sudden you burp, and it's just gas. His line's inflated. Everything's inflated now with Carolina because of the Mikko Rantanen trade. We saw, what was it, the price of the Cup future from 10-1 to now 650, 600, and most books. So that we're seeing the same reaction with the game line as well. But you also can't back the Islanders. Like I said, they got to prove to you that they can win 4 in a row, something they haven't done all season long. So there goes the draw. Plus 325 is what I grabbed this morning at Bet Online. So that's what I'm rocking with. First period over and the draw. We'll be adding full game over 5.5 if I find out Anderson is confirmed.
Yeah, and believe it or not, the Islanders have won 2 home games in a row against the Hurricanes. Earlier this year, last month, they beat them 4-3 here at UBS Arena. And then last year in April, they won 3-2. Actually, no, that was playoffs. My bad. No, last year in the regular season, 4-1, the Carolina beat them. But earlier this year, like a month ago, Islanders won 4-3 here, and it was a 1-goal game. So the draw could be. But we could have some overtime potential here tonight with the Hurricanes and the Islanders. What do you think here in this one, Ryan? Carolina Hurricanes, New York Islanders.
Yeah, this is pretty much a pass for me. I don't have anything in terms of sides or totals. The only thing I might take a small shot with is Rantanen anytime goal. There's stuff coming out that he was pissed off. With Colorado, he didn't see it coming. So he's going to be hopefully motivated and want to show that he's going to be big value for this team. So I'm going to take a small shot. I think it's like plus 140, plus 150 for anytime goal for Rantanen, somewhere in that range. So I'm going to take a small shot with him. But in terms of sides, draws, team totals, I'm staying off this game.
Yeah, you know what? And I love Rantanen as a player for sure. But if he's butthurt over getting traded, I say deal with it, man. Colorado didn't force you to demand $14 million in your next deal with the Avalanche. I mean, if you think for a second they're going to pay you, he's a great player. He's going to deserve to get paid a double-digit salary per year. But if you think for a minute that the Colorado Avalanche are going to acquiesce to paying you $14 million a season when they already pay McKinnon $12.5, they're going to pay you more than McKinnon? What are you smoking, man? That's not in a million years. Never would that happen. So right away, he was barking up the wrong tree. Colorado's not going to, pay you more than Nathan McKinnon at 12.5. Not to mention they have Cale Makar to think of, who is obviously the pillar of that blue line, and they're going to have to pay him long term. So, like I said, it's just I know he's didn't see it coming. Well, maybe you should have lowered your asking price, but at the same time, a little bit. It's a salary cap era. I know everyone wants to get the bag, and Mikko deserves his. He's a great player. But my goodness, man, in what dream world are you living in that you think you're going to get more money than McKinnon when they still have to pay Makar in a year or two?
Wild.
It's just absolutely absurd. So I can't listen to the crocodile tears and the rage and I can't believe they did this to me. They traded. I never saw it coming. Lower the asking price, man. They're not paying you more than Nathan McKinnon. Come on, it's that simple. All right. Anyway, that's It's just, it's the businessman. That's the way business. It's a cruel business. I mean, that's sports. I mean, there's no loyalty. It's about bottom line. And it's about business and making the pieces fit and making it obviously in a salary cap sport fitting under the cap. There's no doubt. So, like I said, it is what it is. It's tough to see it end with him in Colorado. He's a great player. He's a great ad for Carolina because he's exactly what they need. But like I said, in what world were they going to pay him more than Nathan MacKinnon? No world. No world that was going to equal reality, at least. All right, Washington and Vancouver next up. We've got the Washington Capitals minus 125, road favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. The only thing I'm hung up on here with this game is Washington's been on the road for a little bit. This will be the third game of this trip, but they have two more after this. They play in Calgary on Tuesday, and then they play in Ottawa on Thursday. So it's not like they're going home right after this. I just don't know if there's a strong case I can make for Vancouver right now. There's trade rumors swirling with JT Miller, trade rumors swirling with Elias Pettersson. This team has obviously floundered on the ice, 2-8 in their last 10 games, back-to-back losses. The Buffalo loss was hideous, where they had a lead in the third. They lose 3-2. Then they got blasted by Edmonton, which was not really a big surprise because the Oilers lost in Vancouver. And then Edmonton obviously wanted payback, and they got it. I mean, this train just keeps on rolling right now for the Washington Capitals. 6 straight wins. They dominated Seattle. They were full marks for the 3-0 shutout win over the Kraken. They were the better team. They've won 5 of the last 6 meetings over the Vancouver Canucks. So pretty straightforward. I think it's cheap on the much better team right now and the much more harmonious situation. So Washington minus 125 here for me. Alex, what do you think here? Capitals, Canucks.
This is fucking disrespectful of a line, in my opinion. How are you giving this? This should be.
I agree.
Yeah, this should be minus 145, 150 with the Caps. Like I said, this is a Canucks team that's just a drama show, big drama show, as Gennady Golovkin, the boxer, once said. You got guys, trying to figure out where they're going, where's everybody gonna be slotted. Everything's just a mess right now in Vancouver, and Washington's got things rocking and roll right now. So yeah, I'll lay the 125 right there with you.
It's a great line by Rich H., disgruntled Canucks fan. I know he's frustrated.
Yeah.
Canucks are the new free
for the
space.
moment, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. It's exactly what it's been like, no doubt. What do you think here in this one, Ryan? Capitals, Canucks.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. I took, Washington's been hot. They've won 5 straight or whatever it is. As Alex said, it's kind of disrespectful. Vancouver has a lot of those trade rumors going around. Guys don't know where they're going to end up. I also saw, I think it was, I don't know if it was Elliot Friedman or Frank Saravalli, but said he heard last night's trade wasn't even the biggest thing floating around on the table the last 24 to 48 hours, and a lot of people have speculated that could mean either JT Miller or Pettersson. So who knows? Maybe there's a last minute thing later tonight, and one of those guys is out of the lineup too. So I think Washington here minus 125 is great value. And that's all I'm going to be on pregame for sides and totals in this one.
Not my favorite draw, but I can make a case for it simply because of that. Yeah, Washington's 5 of the last 9. And not to mention Vancouver and Washington overall in the series, 5 of 9 have gone past regulation between them. So I still think it's a competitive game, but I just think Washington finds a way. But the draw based on that, definitely could be worth a look here as far as what we've seen, close competitive games with these two teams. I mean, I'm just, it feels like I'm just repeating a lot of the same players for Washington, but who we're looking at. If we're going to bet any props, we're going to look at McMichael and Ovechkin and Protas and Wilson, the usual crowd. They've been the ones that have been really getting it done here for the Capitals. All right, Nashville and Anaheim. Nashville off these 2 just insane games against San Jose. We'll see how they fare here tonight as they head to the pond to take on the Anaheim Ducks. I still call it that every now and then, even though I know it's the Honda Center. It's not the Arrowhead Pond anymore. But we got Nashville minus 190, road favorites, 6 the total in this game. There were some big-time defensive warts that sprung up for Nashville in these last 2 games against San Jose. Concerning, Saros was pretty bad in the game in Nashville versus San Jose. And of course, useless on it. And when he plays like that, not very good in the rematch against San Jose in the tank. even though they bailed them out with 6 goals. Suddenly, a bit of an over machine here the last 3 games. They've either scored a ton of, well, they've scored. First of all, the offense is on fire. No doubt. Forsberg can't be stopped. Stamkos and Marchessault have finally flipped the switch and playing like they're capable of. And this is an offense that's put up 19 goals in the last 3 games, 6 against a very good Minnesota team as well. So there's no doubt we're seeing some good things from them offensively right now. Question for Anaheim. They beat Pittsburgh 5-1. Here's another one of these teams. Like we've talked about this all the damn time with these lower tier teams. Can we trust them to put 2 good games together and 2 wins together? Hasn't happened very often for the Anaheim Ducks this year. But here they are with a chance to win 2 in a row. Problem is Nashville's playing with great confidence offensively in this 5-game win streak. You know, I am worried about what we've seen from the defense, and I'm worried about what we have seen here from, you know, the goaltending from Nashville of late, from both guys, really, Saros and Onanen. It looks like for tonight's game with the Ducks and the Predators, we've got Saros and Dostal projected. Neither one has been confirmed as of yet. You know what? Now that I see what we're the recency with the series here, Nashville and Anaheim, I'm looking at it right now. We've seen 3 of 5 go over. I'm kind of thinking over 6 here, but again, with Anaheim, they're flighty sometimes. You never know if they're going to bring it offensively every night, bring that to the party. You know what I mean? So over 6, I am interested in probably for some kind of bet here. Over 6 -120 with Predators and Ducks. I'll be honest, I'm leaning Anaheim. Can't lay -1. Even though Nashville's on a roll, I don't necessarily want to fade them. But boy, oh boy, there's some issues that they got to clean up in their own end. As hot as they are offensively, you know, they've been giving up a lot too in these last few games. So Anaheim, if they can puncture that Nashville defense and goaltending, they could hang around in this game. But is Anaheim going to slow down Nashville's red-hot offensive attack? That's the question. It's just I don't want to fade Nashville's win streak. But to me, there is value in Anaheim. But like I said, I don't want to fade Nashville's win streak. So I'll probably end up just on over 6 here. Alex, what do you think? Preds, Ducks?
I think the Ducks do bring a little bit of offense to the party at the Pond tonight. So I took them team total over 2.5 -120, along with the over 6 -120. But I'm a little heavier on that Ducks team total because, like I said, I don't know if Nashville can keep this run going. It's one thing to put up, 13 goals combined against San Jose in 2 nights. And if Dostal, if he can shut the door down, then the Ducks could be live in this one. So maybe a good live betting game as well. But Ducks team total over 2.5. I bet that, and I took a little small shot with that over 6.
And again, that's a great bet to make if you trust Anaheim in this game in any way, shape, or form. Just trust them to score 3. And by the way, it's incredible how when they score 3, they win 18-2. The Ducks when they score 3 or more, as Jonathan says in the chat. So it seems like that's the key for them. Get to that 3-goal mark, and they're going to win the hockey game more often than not. So we'll see if that continues. And like I said, Nashville, I'll tell you what, based on what I saw in the last few games, it's possible they can get to the 3 goals that they would need to have a pretty good chance to win this game here tonight. What do you think here in this one, Ryan? Nashville, Anaheim.
Yeah, I was looking at that Ducks team total over 2.5, and I think I'm going to hop on it with Alex. I think that's a good value. I don't know if I trust them to win. Nashville has been finding their game lately, but I think it's a good play for over 2.5. Another or I guess a prop I like. Just kind of a gut feeling. I grew up playing with Zegras. He's a good kid. I think he hasn't scored yet in a few games. He's been back, but I have a feeling that he scores tonight. So I'm going to take a small shot with that. Plus 350, plus 340 range. Trevor Zegras.
All right, there you go. Trevor Zegras for the Anaheim Ducks. And like I said, he just came back recently from injury for the Anaheim Ducks. I would say Vetrano, Terry, McTavish starting to heat up. Maybe look at Mason McTavish. We've been waiting for him to get his offense going once again. Nashville, like I said, don't want to reinvent the wheel. If you're going to look at props, it's a good place to start is Forsberg, Stamkos, Marchessault. So sprinkle in maybe a little bit. Oh, here's one that you got to look at too. Actually, this guy's a bargain bin consideration for me right now. Fedor Svechkov for the Nashville Predators. Fedor Svechkov has He's only on the third line, but he has scored in not one, not two, but 3 straight games for the Nashville Predators. So Fedor Svechkov, and you can get upwards of plus 400, plus 425 with him to score a goal. I think it's worth a shot. He has clearly found a little something here for this Nashville Predators team. All right, our final game of this huge Saturday card. We've reached the end. Florida, San Jose. We've got Florida minus 320, road favorites. The total here sitting at 6, shaded to the over. Florida, 10 straight wins head-to-head over the San Jose Sharks. So this has definitely been series dominance here for the Panthers over the Sharks. We'll see if that continues here tonight. San Jose's now lost 5 straight games. Gutting losses the last 3. You had a third period lead in Boston. You give up 4 unanswered goals in the third on Monday, that afternoon game, and you lose 6-3. You have the 5-1 lead in Nashville. You blow that game as well. Give up 6 unanswered goals and lose 7-5. And then in the game at home against Nashville in the rematch, you were actually down 3-0 early. Bad start for a change. And you actually rally back multiple times to tie the game, only to lose 6-5. So 3 crushing losses in a row. How much is in their tank emotional, not just physically, emotionally, spiritually for San Jose off 3 losses like that? Just gut punches. 3 in a row for the San Jose Sharks. I wouldn't trust them tonight, but obviously, look, we're talking minus 320 with Florida. There's no value. So this is probably a pass for me. Not many passes on the card, but this is probably one of them. 10 in a row for Florida. It's just a question of, do they win a nice, tidy, low-event game 2-1, 3-1, or do they explode and maybe win 5-3, like they have on multiple occasions here in San Jose? That's the only question it is, but like I said, hard to get involved for me, at least in this one. Alex, what do you think here? Panthers, Sharks.
Yeah, but this big of a card, there's no reason to bet on this game, in my opinion. So it's a pass.
No doubt. Yeah, 11 straight, 13-1, 16-4 for Florida over San Jose. So it's just been, absolute dominance. And look, San Jose,
if they were falling apart defensively, then we could just go team total. But like I said, we can't even trust Florida to get 4, and we got to lay 150 to even find out on that. So there's just none of value at all, really.
We might be able to trust Florida to do that if it's Georgiev, and that's what we're waiting. That's what I'm waiting on, because then the first period, although the first period angles kind of cooled off lately for Alexander Georgiev, just fading him in the first period like it was early in the season. The numbers still overall are incredible, but lately there's been a couple of either wins or ties for San Jose with Georgiev in net, not the automatic L's that we were seeing in the first period with him, obviously earlier in the season. So again, we're waiting to see who's in net. Ekblad, by the way, is a game time decision. He might finally be back. He's traveling with the team on this road trip. They said he might be back for this weekend matchup against San Jose, but we'll know more closer to game time decision. Bobrovsky, projected for Florida. It's funny, some sites have Askarov project. I can't see it, though. I think it's probably going to be Georgiev after they gave Askarov the start, and they still lost against Nashville the other night. But again, to be determined. This is one of those games you're going to want to check back later in the day and see what's going on in the net minding department. What do you think here, Ryan? Final game, Florida, San Jose.
Just a pass for me. Just no value in minus 320, and I'm not betting the Sharks against the defending Cup champs. So I'm just going to stay off this game altogether.
Yep, nothing wrong with that. Just briefly, as far as any props of interest for me here, I would say in this game, the Will Smith, Granlund, Zetterlund line's been good. I don't mind taking a shot there with any of those 3. And then for Florida, I will keep it simple. Samoskevich, little value with him on the second line. Evan Rodriguez scored, I believe, earlier this week on the road trip. He's streaky, so yeah, he might be someone to keep an eye on, because usually when he scores to bust out of a little slump, he keeps it going. All right, great stuff. What a slate. Huge slate. 13 games on the board. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button if you haven't done so already. And a reminder, Tuesday night, it's our Ice Guys Patreon exclusive live betcast, Tuesday, January 28th, this Tuesday, 7:00 p.m. Eastern Time. It means you must be a Patreon member to watch the betcast and or join us live on the stream during the betcast. And right now, For those of you that may not be signed up or subscribed yet to the Patreon page, but you're thinking, wow, it would be nice to take part in that Betcast, which is Patreon exclusive Tuesday night. Well, we got a deal for you right now. It's on from now until midnight this Wednesday, which will be through to the end of the Betcast taking place Tuesday night. You can get on board on the Patreon page, sign up and subscribe as a member, and be there for our Betcast on Tuesday night, exclusive to Patreon members. 50% off Patreon membership with this discount now available through till Wednesday at midnight, and you can get 50% off your Patreon membership and get that discount by signing up at patreon.com/iceguys and using the promo code BETCAST50. That's BETCAST50 to get 50% off your Patreon membership. Again, we've got our Patreon members only exclusive live Betcast Tuesday night, and we're giving you the perfect time, if you've never signed up before to Patreon, to come on board and sign up with that 50% off membership discount at patreon.com/iceguys using the promo code BETCAST50. Check that out.
Also, check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. 3 days left to save 15% off in the entire store. We've got all new merch, a bunch of new looks. So definitely check that out. It's 15% off today, tomorrow, and Monday. That's at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
No doubt. That's great. Aaron's right. It's a cup of coffee. That's exactly right. Don't be cheap and join up. We hope people would. We don't force anybody to, but we can't give it to you for much
cheaper than a cup of coffee in some places.
It is, no doubt. Especially Starbucks. They rip you off.
Yeah.
It's not even great coffee. It's ridiculous. So yeah, it's definitely a better value than that. So yeah, no doubt. Russell saying, what is that discount? It's just basically you would go to the page and you would go the procedure to sign up, and then there'll be a option to enter a promo code, and that's what you do. You enter that promo code BETCAST50, BETCAST50, and that'll get you the 50% off discount when you sign up for the Patreon page. All right, great stuff. We got our bargain bin special of the night and best bets coming up in just a moment, right after we hear from our great Ice Guy sponsors.
Support for the Ice Guys podcast is provided by Boston Hemp Incorporated, Tailgater Social, and a big thank you to all that subscribe to the Ice Guys Patreon page. Everyone loves a perfect pair. Bacon and eggs. Thunder and lightning. Mario and Luigi. A hot dog with fries. Ian and Alex B. That's right. Everyone loves a perfect pair. So why not pair up your game nights with Boston Hemp? From exotic flower to concentrates and edible products. You'd be hard-pressed to find a better pairing than Boston Hemp and hockey. Check them out today at bostonhempinc.com. That's bostonhempinc.com. Boston Hemp Incorporated, the official smoke sponsor of the Ice Guys. Void where prohibited by law. Not available outside of the United States. Must be 21 or over to obtain products. Check your local regulations to see if Boston Hemp is available in your area.
All right, shout out to all our great sponsors, including Boston Hemp Inc. at 20% off all orders on the website using the promo code IceGuys at bostonhempinc.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night. We did have a winner in the bargain bin last night, courtesy of Alex B. Smith with Frank Nazar finding the back of the net for the Chicago Blackhawks plus 500. Alex, encore time. What do you got?
Yeah, let's go up the street to XL Energy Center. You got the Hockey Day in Minnesota. The Wild are hosting the Calgary Flames. While I do like Minnesota take care of business within 60 minutes to get the win. I think Yegor Sharangovich of the Calgary Flames can get a goal. You can get him anytime goal scorer plus 390 at FanDuel. He's always had a lot of shots on goal against Minnesota. So Sharangovich plus 390 anytime goal for my bargain bin special this Saturday.
All right, that's a good one. Yeah, for Alex B. Smith there, his bargain bin special of the night for this Saturday. Ryan, bargain bin special, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the guy that's been heating up. He's been producing consistently and as well as finding the back in net. I'm going to take a long shot with this one. I'm going to go. I'm going to take him get back-to-back games with 2+ goals. I'm going to go Jason Robertson plus 1,800 2+ goals tonight against the St. Louis Blues.
He's on a roll right now. He's on a heater. Jason Robertson over 1.5 goals. Dallas Stars 18-1 plus 1,800 for Ryan Robinson. His best bet. I'm going to go with two bargain bin specials tonight. We're going to go to Toronto, Ottawa. He's barely bargain bin material at majority of books, but he still is. And it's plus 300 at Proline, plus 300 Sports Interaction, plus 325 at Bet365. But he does make the grade. Bobby McMahon. There you go. Me and Bobby McMahon, like the old Joplin song. There you go. Bobby McMahon plus 325 with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Great opportunity playing with Matthews and Marner, taking the spot of Matthew Nyes, who's injured. So Bobby McMahon plus 325 for my bargain bin special. My first one. My second one, I've talked myself into what I mentioned in Nashville, Anaheim. Fedor Svechkov. He's going for his 4th straight game with a goal. And he's plus 425 right now at DraftKings. So looking for his 4th straight game scoring a goal. Fedor Svechkov for the Nashville Predators, plus 425. So there you go. Bobby McMahon, Fedor Svechkov, 2 bargain bin specials of the night for me on this Saturday. Alex, best bet, what do you got?
Yeah, we go the Washington Capitals minus 125. That line is just a little too low. And this is a really good hockey team and a messy hockey team you got playing in the Vancouver Canucks tonight. So give me the Caps, minus 125, my Saturday best bet.
All right, there we go. Best bet for Alex B. Smith. Good stuff. Ryan, what do you got for best bet?
I'm going to head up north to Canada. I'm going to go with that Buffalo-Edmonton first period over. The Oilers have been on a tear with first period overs lately. And I think Buffalo could chip in as well. So give me that first period over 1.5 minus 140 as my best bet today.
All right, Buffalo Edmonton over 1.5 first period for Ryan Robinson. His best bet. My best bet. I'm going to go to Battle of Ontario. Look, we've had the 3 games previously with the back-to-back shutout losses system play, and first period over is hit in all 3. But the full game over has hit easily, because the 3 previous games this season involving teams off back-to-back shutout losses had 11, 9, and 8 goals in those games. Flew over the total. And we're getting 5.5 here with the – I get it. There's some injuries. No Matthew Nyes. No Josh Norris on the Ottawa side. But we're talking 5.5 with a system that's been uber strong this year for teams off back-to-back shutout losses. And that's best bet worthy, in my opinion. Leafs Senators – over 5.5, minus 115 for my best bet here for this Saturday NHL card. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. Great Saturday show. We've got, obviously, Mikey back with us tomorrow on Sunday and Monday. He'll be on the show with us. I'm sure Matt Robinson will be back in the house on Tuesday for his regular day. And we've got another PTO scheduled on Wednesday. Player tryout, recently retired player tryout. We had Sean Sidlowski last Saturday. Did a great job. He'll be back on with us a few more times. But we're going to have Trevor Mingoya, who just recently retired from pro hockey. He'll be joining us Wednesday on the show. So lots of guests coming up. We're looking forward to it, and a great week of shows coming up here on the Ice Guys. And, of course, our BetCast. One last time, we got to remind you, get on that Patreon discount. 50% off, patreon.com/iceguys. Use that promo code BetCast50, BetCast50, and be there Tuesday night for our Patreon exclusive live betcast.
Goalie charts will be updated tonight, and I will have an article up by Monday as well. So, like I said, now's the time to sign up for Patreon.
All right, patreon.com/iceguys. And I concur with Aaron's second period over. If that gets to that playable range for me in Colorado, Boston, I'll be jumping in on that. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith and Ryan Robinson, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Saturday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And I'll be tuned into Matt Robinson again, too, probably. I'll have to have it. It'll have to compete with some NHL games tonight, Matt. You won't have the whole floor to yourself, but we will tune in. It's Reno-Mansfield Part 2 tonight on Saturday. So we'll keep an eye on it. And Matt's promising me it's going to be even more crazy and wild, saying it gets rougher in the rematch game. So we'll see if
over the total.
If that's true to form. Yeah, there we go with Reno tonight as they take the ice tonight. We were all in. Chris Otto was in the YouTube chat while that game was going on too. So it was great.
It was fun to watch.
It was fun. Yeah, the whole night to yourself there because there was no NHL in the late night hours. So we'll definitely check in on that as well. Great stuff. Have a great Saturday, everybody. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will see you again tomorrow on Sunday, noon Eastern, for another edition of the Ice Guys.